from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me from Dubai, Yuri. Yuri, thank you very much for being on the show today. It's my pleasure to have you, and I'm happy because I'm having more guests nowadays from Dubai. So without further ado, Yuri, the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to tell us more about themselves and what they do. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mehmet, and thank you very much for having me. Pleasure being here. My name is Yuri Dvoinos. I am a Chief Innovation Officer at aura.com, aura.com. It's a cybersecurity company. I sold my last startup to aura.com, Figleaf, and now I drive their innovation function from there. Our primary domain of expertise is cybersecurity, and we, of course, use a lot of AI to fight the scams. And all of that, interestingly, I've done while living out of Dubai. So actually, this is my 10th year, and I've been living in the city for 10 years. And it's always nice to connect with folks from the same area.
That's fantastic. And thank you again, Yuri, for being with me here today. Actually, even we were talking about before we started, to record this podcast, we share a lot regarding, the passion for technology, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, AI, and all this. But before that, Yuri, this is something I always like to ask founders like yourself. First, what have brought you to this field specifically, and how the idea came to you, and then you decided that, okay, this is something that it's worth to start to build and then make it on a larger scale?
It's a great question, and thank you for asking this. It feels like I've always been in this space at some point. So I launched my first startup with a good friend of mine and also a buddy from the university. So just by the time we were graduating from the National Technical University of Ukraine, we started a company which is now called Clario. And it's a cybersecurity company which was focused then on Apple computers primarily. And I guess the reason we started this company is there was a large space of cybersecurity and consumer cybersecurity companies for Windows, and there was literally nothing for Apple computers. We absolutely wanted to do something. And of course, the jobs was around. The space was incredibly innovative. So it was a real pleasure working in the ecosystem. And we got to the point where we created something really valuable. We got to 15 million downloads of our software within a couple of years, and all of that being bootstrapped. And we started to launch more products and more companies, if you will, in other domains as well. Like one of the other fun things we did was the hardware startup, which is called playjammy.com. It's the most portable MIDI guitar in the world. I got to be honest with you, Mehmet. Not every single company that I did went wild. There were lots and lots of ups and downs, and at some point, and then you always want to make the dent in the universe or come up with something that's really valuable. I think that's the nature of the beast. And at some point of time, as we were working in cybersecurity all this time, and many products that we launched was in the cybersecurity, but also exploring other domains, at some point of time, I fell in love with the framework called design thinking. Design thinking really helped me to understand how to build products with that are human-centered, And I launched the initiative for half a year, which was a pure design thinking initiative, like a small cross-functional team that was exploring different pain points. Design thinking initiative, it really helped us to understand how to build human-centric products. And of course, we had a challenge, like every other design thinking initiative has. We actually wanted to tackle the software distribution, and ironically, very quickly, the design thinking squad came back to me and said, "Look, that sort of problem looks very promising, but you know what I mean? It's not. It's not doesn't resonate with people. It's not that sort of problem that people are going nuts about. But there are lots of other problems that we have discovered." And I was like, "Okay, sure, tell me more." And one of the problems that we have discovered was related to the privacy. People were very concerned, and this was back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, so way before Cambridge Analytics and before privacy was cool. And this was really the moment where I got back on the track with the cybersecurity, and we're like, okay, so the data misuse, all the data breaches, and everything how data is being used against people is really like a massive problem that's about to blow up. And this is where I got all in, and I launched this last startup of mine for now called Figleaf. And this is how the journey of Figleaf begin. And from there, well, I'll let I can keep going with the story on what happened
Sure.
with Figleaf. This is how we land on the cybersecurity again. So we started from there, and then my last startup I ended from there. I guess it's just such a massive problem that keeps following you. Just so many unsolved things here.
Absolutely. Now, one thing, which I think, and we agreed on that also before, cybersecurity for consumers or for people who are not into the tech space is very much, in my opinion, underrated. And I think I can understand this because even when I talk to business owners who are like usually by themselves, so we see that there's a problem there because they don't understand cybersecurity the way. So first, Yuri, I want to ask you, why do you think, despite like all the information we have around, despite all sometimes even now banks, they do these awarenesses to their customers, like the government also here, especially in Dubai, they keep sending us these emails like, don't open attachment, be aware of scammers. But why do you think the problem is ever growing? Like, is it because we are lazy, because we are distracted? I'm trying here to understand the reasons behind the problem, and then we can discuss how you're trying to solve this.
Yeah. No, it's a it's a fundamental one, right? In in the cybersecurity, I tend to think there are two things. One is the tools or the tooling, like what sort of technology are you using to your advantage in order to protect yourself, or the channels, the systems that you have. And the other thing, of course, is the education, like how prepared are you to recognize, to react, like do you know what to do? And I think those two, they come hand in hand. uh, to be honest with you, Mehmet, I don't think that we are being lazy. I think, to our credit, and specifically here in Dubai, I think Dubai is doing an incredible job in bringing awareness. And a lot of people are aware that scams are happening. It's just that they're getting bigger, they're growing. The way I think about this is almost like an organized crime. I think it seems to be a business. In the end of the day, people are stealing money, and it's becoming a bigger business. And I think, with all the technology that we have around us, I think the ways of scams, they're changing as well. Um, I like to tell the story that, I've been working in cybersecurity one way or another since 2019, 2009. So that's a lot of years. And I still got hacked a couple years ago. And the way I got hacked, I got scammed, actually, not hacked. I got scammed. It's very painful to talk about this. It's a very frustrating experience to me because I tend to believe that I'm very good. At least I know all the things that are there. So let me tell you a story. My
Sure.
I have a, we all pay utility bills, and the community that where I lived, I knew a lady from this community who we would exchange emails all the time, because you always have to do something in Dubai, fix this, fix there. It's just an ongoing process, right? And she would always send me the annual bill. Uh, and because I know her very well, I know her style, the way she would always start her email with, "Hello, Mr. Yuri, how are you today?" Like, it's pretty generic, but this is her style. And she would always finish the email with something very specific. So she would have a very, very specific writing style or writing patterns. And I think I don't think we know for a fact that someone has hacked um, her email account and was watching for all the conversations she had. And you can imagine how many clients
Oh yeah, sure.
this company. Yeah. So the utility company, it's the account manager in the utility company. In reality, they correspond with hundreds of customers. So if you can plug into those conversations and you know the style of the account manager, all it takes now to come up with a draft similar in this style is literally to tell AI, hey, read those emails and come up with this draft saying that in the same style. That's literally all it takes. So it is very easy to mimic the style of another person if you have this content so you can train the model. And it's very, very simple, fast training. It doesn't even take a lot of time. It's really like one prompt. And then all you need to do is, because they know all the customers' emails and they know all the threads of the ongoing conversation, they just inject, they do the email hijacking, conversation hijacking, where they send you an email in the existing conversation. So you think that you still interact with the same person, and that email has like one symbol difference. It looks exactly the same. The beginning of the email looks exactly the same. It's maybe the domain address is slightly different with the subtle difference. And if you miss that, then you're screwed. You think you're continuing the conversation, but in reality, you're not talking to someone you thought you are, and this is how they got you. This is relatively new. I think it was popular for the enterprise attacks. This vector of attack, the email hijacking, was very popular for the enterprise, where CEO of a large oil and gas company negotiates a deal with a contractor, and it's a $5 million deal. You hijack the conversation, you share a fake invoice for a prepayment, and off you go. You just stole a lot of money. But for consumers, for a utility company, it's a little bit of an expensive attack, I was thinking. But apparently everything got so automized, and the technology is being worked out so well that it makes financial sense for scammers to pursue end consumers, which was my case. I didn't lose a lot of money, but it was just so frustrating for me to go through this experience, because the scam really got me.
Uh, like Yuri, you touch on a very important point, and this is even, I always dealt with enterprises, and even like we need to convey the message to them, because I've been in this space also like for a long time. The, what you mentioned is very true. And these guys, I all this is I hear it from a colleague that we used to work together. He taught me, because I was like in a consultancy side, so we need to use a story to tell them. And the story we used to tell people is that these guys, I mean, the bad actors, are like us. They have families, they have commitments, they have bills to pay also themselves. So they need to be creative in and innovative in getting new ways of attacks. And every time I started to see, and I as a someone who's passionate about cybersecurity also as well, I always follow, and from social media sometimes, from friends, these new stories. And what you're telling me is a really next level, I would say. Now, you mentioned AI, Yuri. Can AI protect us? Because we know that they are using AI as well. So for me, as someone, sitting can I leverage AI to detect if there's probably a scam or probably someone is trying to hack me? And I'm not asking this question, as a techie guy now. I'm removing my techie hat and I'm asking this on behalf of someone who might, be sitting now at home or they are in the office listening to us and trying to understand if AI can help me while knowing that the other side also is using AI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is a lot of buzz around AI. And I feel like every single year there is hype around something, right? So one year was crypto, the other one was metaverse, now it's AI. But AI is really different, in my opinion. It's really this general purpose, fundamental technology that will, in my opinion, touch almost every single aspect of the business or the industries. There are so many use cases for AI. There is a reason Emirates have a ministry for AI, because there are lots of use cases that can be unlocked for productivity. So it's a very powerful technology, and there's absolutely an arms race between both sides. And what I just described, the style, the mimic and the writing style of a person is a very, very powerful technique. Apparently, based on my research, we as human beings, we are using the when we read a message, we recognize person by the style of writing. So you would know that this is not your mom if the style of writing would be different from how your mom would talk to you or would send you a message. So that is almost like a social hack. But in order to accomplish it, a lot of AI technology is being applied. But ironically, the same vectors, the email hijacking, and can also be quite easily, at least for now, recognized by AI. So all of this, the thing that I shared and mentioned about this one subtle change in the email, it's very difficult for us to check every single email for all the signs for scams. Just we don't have time for that, to be honest with you. But it's super easy for AI to do that. There is absolutely no problem for AI system to check every single ongoing email and see, okay, is there anything shady with that email going on? So yes, we absolutely should use AI for our benefits and for our purpose. And to my honest experience, my honest opinion, I think that we're just in the very, very beginning of that wave. Um, Email and writing style is just one thing that's happening, but there are so much more. You can it used to be a new thing where you could have mimic a writing style. Now you can have mimic a voice, and it doesn't. And people would say, well, it's difficult, right? That's expensive. And I would say, no, it's actually not. All you need to do is to have a couple seconds sample of the voice of the person you're trying to mimic, and off you go. You can come up with your own AI voice generator that talks, if not exactly, then at least very similar to your voice. And someone can pretend to write like you, and then also can pretend to sound like you. And then, of course, you can do the face swapping technologies and VFX technology in order to look like someone else. So that is your deepfake technologies that are being revolutionized and being used more and more frequently. Right now, they are being used for more targeted attacks. But fundamentally, I'm asking myself a question: like, can you trust things that you see, you write, you hear, you watch in 5 years? I don't know. I think it's a big problem, and I think it will take us some time to figure this all out. But the trust for online communication or content exchange, it's going to be challenged.
It will be indeed, like no doubt in this, Yuri. I can see it coming, but again, to the point I was trying to explain, it's not about being lazy. It's because many things going around, and these attacks being sophisticated more and more. Now, let me ask you, like, because you try now to reach to millions of people. So from your perspective, what are like some of the strategies that you have employed, and you try always like also to keep to 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 put within the platform that you have, so people can at least you know feel that they have achieved. Of course, no one can achieve like 100%, right? So but at least we can say 99% or 99.9%, right? So because when I was looking at the platform, you cover a lot of things. And like, as you mentioned, there are different attack vectors. So what are like some of the, if you can just on a high level, of course, explain to us, what are some of the techniques that you try to embed in your platform that can help people in reducing the risks of these attacks?
Yeah. No, this is this is a great point. I think it comes down to trainings, right? But the problem with fundamental problem with trainings, people hate them. So so
Oh
um,
yeah.
I I I think you will. It's just natural, right? People are not fully aware of all the cybersecurity risks, and of course, it's all changing dramatically, and we need to, you know, raise this awareness and make sure the message sticks, and we form this habit. But if the answer is more training, I think it's the wrong answer. I think we got to the point where a lot of people, at least I've seen a lot of people, are being constantly trained and constantly filling out surveys. I'm not sure that I, I think this is almost like the necessary evil, the thing that we have to do. But I wonder if this experience can be gamified. I wonder if the scams are, everyone could feel the scam. So I think, of course, you have to have like a system of sorts that gives you understanding, like how many, how what is the percentage of your workforce that has no idea? What is the percentage of the workforce is relatively ready for the threat? So you have to understand this, because if you don't measure that, you can't really control it. And to that, you need to do something, whether it's a gamified system where you try to, it's like a your own fake scam attack. So you know how many of your own employees are biting scams that you actually populate. That's one thing. The other thing is training, or maybe you can try everything under the sun, a little bit of this and that. But one thing remains certain is that the better personal security of your employees and the better awareness of everyone who works for your company is, the better your security overall posture as a company. And how do you achieve that? A little bit of an art and science there. And I think a lot of people are trying to make training a little bit more engaging. But fundamentally, you absolutely have to do them. So you have to do something to not only raise awareness, but also give people practical understanding of how scams look. What do you have to do? Like, a lot of times you do click the link. So what do you do about that? You have to report, right? You have to tell someone so the rest of the organization is ready and feel prepared. So all of these systems, I think, is just a very, very foundational systems that you have to have within the company. And without them, yeah, I think no matter how great your tools are, the workforce and this lack of understanding how to deal with scams might set you up.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that point, because we need to make these trainings more appealing somehow to people. I believe, Yuri, uh, because people, they think, oh yeah, it's just another couple of videos I'm gonna
Yeah.
see, and then I will be asked few questions at the end, and they find it boring. I would not lie, like even at some stage when I used to work with like big companies, and they used to do these awareness things. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Like we know about this, but uh, yeah. So I think a lot of work need to be done there on that part. Now, one question I want to ask you, Yuri. Now, we live in maybe one of the best place in the world when it comes to tech adoption, which is like in Dubai and the UAE, right? So as part of what you do, today from innovation at Aura, um, how do you see, what we talked about from AI and and the adoption of every technology which is possible can contribute at to protect us um, in a fast forward tech driven city like Dubai, because here we have a lot of things that goes on, like so we have people who are trying to get access to our data. There is like, people who try to do financial transactions with our data, with personal data I'm talking. So how do you see the maybe adoption of AI and maybe other technologies contributing to the safety of the city, which is known for being one of the safest places in the world from physical perspective? So how we can, do you think, replicate this from cybersecurity perspective in the cyber world?
No, I think this is an incredible question, to be honest with you, Mehmet. I can absolutely see Dubai being one of the ridiculously safe cities, right? It's almost impossible how safe it is here. But if you go back to the virtual digital space, I don't think it is much of a different from rest of the world. I think it's uh, similar. I would say Dubai is doing a little bit of. There is absolutely several programs that I think that are being deployed. So to content filter, for example, it's very easy to report something as a cyber crime to Dubai police, which is great. But fundamentally, I think that there is much more that can be done. And I honestly don't think there is such a tremendous lift. And how cool would it be if Dubai was the absolutely safest city from a cybersecurity perspective? So not only that you can feel here safe, but if you live here, then you know that your cyberspace is way more protected as well. I think this would be pretty incredible, and I think what's everyone is wrestling around in the world is a couple things as who's responsible for the ultimately who's responsible for consumer protection. Is that just the company that provides the service? Because the responsibility is so diluted, I think it's difficult for a lot of companies to step up unless something is happening and there is like a really large uncontained problem. Here, I think taking proactive stance and actually doing something proactively uh, within, first of all, as a government, and secondly, as institutions that are fundamental to providing access to the internet. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Um, Actually, let me ask a question. Have you ever received those messages from fake Emirates Post?
Oh, always. Daily
Okay.
basis.
Okay. So one thing that can be easily done, like maybe we could somehow clean them up. There are lots of ways to do this. I think one of the ways is in the US right now, you have to whitelist all the marketing templates if you want to use SMS promotional campaigns. So you literally have to come up with a text that has to be whitelisted. Otherwise, you will not be able to spread the SMS campaigns. So it's just one way of adopting like a policy that will help to prevent those sort of nonsense. Uh, the other way is calls, right? So I'm sure you got many calls as well, right? Um, is there
Of course.
anything we could do um, to prevent those calls? What is what is the role of the network? Can network collaborate with Dubai police? Can we analyze calls where that those calls where they ask you Emirates ID? Can that be a
Yes.
trigger for the analysis, or an SMS for UAE Pass? A lot of times they tell you that, hey, just tell me the code from UAE Pass. Well, you are the network, right? So you know that someone is calling you asking about that. You're on the call and you're also receiving the UAE pass SMS. Can that be a trigger to start analyzing something? So I think there is lots of things that we could do in addition to just bringing the awareness and saying that it's our individual responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, but I think there is a long way to go, and I absolutely think someone has to own this and someone has to drive that. So there is a lot of things that needs to happen. So yeah, it's a great opportunity, but also lots of work ahead.
It's a lot of works, and honestly, and again, back to previous point, like you mentioned, and also I commented on that. They're becoming so sophisticated. So I just saw. I'm trying to remember what. Yeah, um, the CEO, the founder of Yabi, which was Sukelman. She was talking about something where even now, the caller ID from the landline number can make it appear like as if it's from the bank, and
Yeah.
it seems that the person who okay, it's not a mobile number with non-caller ID, so the bank name was there, and because when they ask about the pin or the OTP, and I see the banks, I see the government, they keep repeating this again and again, but I think there's security or cybersecurity, in my opinion, it's also pretty much a psychological factor, because these guys, they know exactly, and to your point before, when you said when they monitor the emails and the conversation, because they hijacked the victim email, and then they're trying to reach their connections. So what they do also, they understand pretty much how our psychology would work. So for example, majority of the time, and this is something I've seen in the B2B space, what they do is, if they want to do the attack by phone or by SMS or by phishing or whatever it is, they do it on a Friday night before the weekend, because everyone is tired. Everyone wants just to go home. And then they
Mhm.
say, hey, the CEO is stuck in a meeting and he needs this. I'm going to send you now a Word document. Just check and confirm that, the information inside is right. So they just use these very smart tactics, um, that but of course the mission is, I think, on everyone. It's on the consumer being also like knowing what's happening around, at least showing eagerness to learn, professionals like ourselves also to educating, and of course the technology, and of course we need the law enforcement, and we need, as you said, there's a lot of work to do, and there's but the technology at the same time is promising. Now I want to jump on something else, if you don't mind, Yuri.
Sure.
um, and like, you have this very successful ventures, right? So what I'm interested to know is, what have you identified as the missing selling point that many tech startups actually overlook?
No, I wish I could tell you there is a secret sauce. And to be honest with you, like I launched 17 or 18 products by now throughout my career since 2009. And to be clear, most of them failed, right? So there's only few companies that worked out really well. Um, and even when you have the initial success and you have this conviction that you are doing something right, there is absolutely no guarantee. And sometimes it's the timing, right? So the market is just not ready for the solution, or maybe it's the other way around. You're too late with the solution. Sometimes it's you ran out of time. So you never. There is a little bit of this unpredictability, but there are ways absolutely to. So it's not completely random, and actually, I can see that there are ways that you can do in order to lower the risk, of course. And to me, it all starts with finding the right problem to tackle. How you define your problem? What is this segment of customers that you're trying to help? How you're different? What sort of technology you're using? That that is the right beginning. So you asked about the unique selling point. I think if you don't understand your market in the beginning and you don't have this absolutely crystal clear domain expertise that you are the number one, you have like a lot of expertise in this domain, so you're adding value, then it is difficult to come up with a unique selling point. And then once you do, once you have identified your books of your Amazon, you want to build an Amazon, of course, but you start with books, selling just books, right, and nothing else. So once you have identified this segment or audience, then of course you go very deep. And I think the pockets of those opportunities, if you will, they lay where it's so difficult for larger established companies. It's so much work to sell something new, something that doesn't exist. It's just easier to go for the existing business. It's there's large demand there. So in those pockets of opportunities where you have that, you feel that, or you have an insight that someone has this, ridiculous problem that almost seems to be unsolvable, and it's just a lot of work in order to create something out of that. That is the opportunity, and I think that is where entrepreneurs and small teams, they can move really fast. They can disrupt in a way, and they can establish themselves through this category. And then how do you grow from there is another thing. But I think this is how it all starts.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. There's no one, formula for success, and the key is to understand, and not only to understand. I believe, Yuri, also, and this is something I keep repeating. You need to, for founders, they need to accept at some stage that they need to pivot. Like uh, they and always I say, remember, you start with a hypothesis, right? So you're not sure. You're gonna prove or disprove that what you thought is right gonna be right or wrong. So this is ability, and there's no shame, of course. And personally, I always talk about my I don't call them failures, my learnings, more than I talk about my successes,
Mhm.
because I think this is how, the entrepreneurship journey altogether comes along. And I'm happy that you shared that today here with us, Yuri. Now I want to talk about, one aspect, and I will make it very clear and short. So, for from your experience, and maybe it's a generative question, but I like to hear different opinions. So I know, like, you bootstrapped, some of the startups you had. So because people here, they keep asking me, can you ask, each founder if they have bootstrapped or they raised some funds? So what's your take on this, Yuri? Like, when they should be bootstrapping the business, when they should go and seek for raising some funds?
Absolutely. No, of course, if you can bootstrap your business, bootstrap it all day long. You get more equity and you
Right.
create more wealth, you preserve more control. So, all of these are great things for you as a founder of the business. No one wants to give up the control and, to end up with less equity. Um, Now, do you need to fundraise in order to come up with a prototype and vet your hypothesis? Sometimes, in several categories, your prototype. Like I think I heard it somewhere where one of the large manufacturers there was saying, "Do you understand that for us the MVP or a concept or a prototype is probably tens, if not hundred of millions of dollars?" So not every single business can afford like a small team and MVP. And of course, if you're doing software, yeah, that's most likely going to be the way. Small team is the way to go. But if you're building something else, that's not necessarily the case. You might be building, I don't know, an e-commerce system or something in the retail store with the digital edge, but then you still need to build the retail component. So it depends on the capital, how much capital do you need to come up with an MVP, which is an absolutely minimum viable proposition of your service or product that should disrupt or win over some segment of the market. Um, but also, what's your end goal? Where do you want to go? Do you want to come up with a global company that is massive, absolutely massive, and has the scale of the worldwide operations? If you have the vision and if you understand how to do that, yes, of course, then without fundraising, I don't believe that bootstrapping is the way to go.
Fantastic. As we are close to the end, Yuri, and this is, a question. Any final thoughts you want to leave us with, and also where people can find more about you?
Sure, I'm happy to stay in touch on the LinkedIn. You can find me there by just typing my name, Yuri, Yuri, Dvoinos, Dvoinos. My final thoughts. Thank you so much, Mehmet, for this podcast. This was great. We touched on the cybersecurity, and my final thoughts are on this is like it's getting more crazy, and we have to be prepared for more wilder things are coming. I wanted to give everyone who listens to your podcast just one advice, which I found extremely easy to remember and compelling. Whenever you are being contacted by someone digitally and asking to click a link or send the money, just do the 2FA, two-factor authentication, by verifying that you are in fact chatting with this person through other channels. So for example, if someone is sending you a WhatsApp, you wouldn't know if that WhatsApp was hacked or something happened. Just give a call and double check. So this thing of double checking, that probably is going to prevent 90% of scams, at least for right now. So it's an easy thing to follow. And then for all the founders who are listening and tuning in and entrepreneurs, I have the mantra of never giving up and having fun along the way and enjoying the process. So yeah, that's my best advice.
This is very, precious advice, I would say, because also I am on your side, Yuri. I always tell people, don't give up. If you have the passion, and if you have the will, maybe you will do some mistakes, which is fine. If you don't mistake, that means that you're not doing enough. So 100%. And to the previous point, uh, I spent literally last year trying to educate, because this starts, as they say, so they say education starts at home, so it applies to cybersecurity, and
Mhm.
it goes to the, if we're not aware about our personal risks from cybersecurity perspective, and you are, because I have little bit kind of tendency to be standing on with the startups, with the small businesses, and I keep telling founders and small business owners, please, please, please don't ignore this aspect. It's very important. You need to start it by your personal devices and your, you know the hygiene on whether how you use your accounts, how do you, and of course plus the awareness about the things you just mentioned, to double check, to do this multi-factor checking, let's call it, and authentication also as well. So
Yeah.
this is a very, very valid point. Yuri, really, I enjoyed the discussion with you today. By the way, the link to your LinkedIn profile will be in the show notes. So thank you very much for being on the show today. I really enjoyed, and I am sure that the audience also would enjoy it. And this is how usually I end my episode. So this is for the audience. If it's your first time listening to us, thank you very much for tuning in. And I wish you liked what we offered for you today. So please, you can subscribe to the podcast. We are available on all the podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the others. And also, if you are interested on being on the show, whether you are a founder, whether you have some idea which is disrupting and not able to find the right audience, and you think that the CTO show can be a fit, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would be very glad to discuss this with you. So that's it all for today. Thank you, and we will meet again in a new episode. Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.